folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Well, a crazy last few days it's been, hasn't it? All this election turmoil, the undecided, the fake ballots, the fake news, the lawsuits, it's on and on and on. We're being inundated really with everything that is going on. It's nonstop, 24/7. But is this any surprise? This is what we all were talking about all along. What we believed was probably going to happen. And in reality is the very worst case scenario has happened. An undecided election where both sides are claiming victory. It does appear, I will admit, it does appear that there has been a lot of voter fraud and election fraud and counting fraud and on and on and on. And it does appear that by everything that I have seen that probably President Trump did pull off a win on this. Will he be able to retain that win? Remember, and I know that there's a lot of talk about lawsuits, and there's already been lawsuits filed and push for recounts and stuff. But remember who controls all that. Most of the judges, maybe not the Supreme Court, but certainly on a state and appellate level, a lot of these judges are very liberal activists. The media, of course, is controlled by the left, on and on and on. So will there be a true, pure judicial process to this? Remains to be seen. But what we are seeing is a buildup of both sides, a buildup of increase of violence, an increase of just activism on both sides going out to these polling stations. And so that's what we want to talk about today is it does appear that this increase in tension between both parties, between both sides, the supporters of each party, of each candidate, is increasing. And what we have, I believe, is a kettle that's boiling and building in pressure and steam, and it's about ready to blow. And we have to ask ourselves, as those of us that find ourselves in the preparedness community, where do we stand, not in the political process, but where do we stand on being ready for the outcome that will inevitably happen due to all this that's going on. There's just definitely this hype and buildup, and without getting into which side is right, the left and the right, the Republican, the Democrat, Trump versus Biden, because the last few days, man, I've been getting some serious hate mail from people, and that's fine. That they don't like it when I try to point out that the truth, whether it's no matter who it affects negatively. But what we're seeing is this hype built up, and it's playing out, in my opinion, much like a distraction, almost of a false flag nature, that we're seeing the left and the right building their forces. For the first time over this past several months in Portland, Oregon, with all the violence that's happened. I mean, they had over 100 days straight of rioting in Portland, where they were burning and assaults and destroying property, and they absolutely refused to call in the National Guard. And now all of a sudden, the National Guard has been deployed in Portland. So to me, that's one of those indicators that, okay, so you've had riots for months. I mean, literally months in that city. and you refuse to call in the National Guard, you refuse to call Black Lives Matter and Antifa the problem, kept continually saying it was just, oh, it's peaceful protest, it's peaceful protest. And now that it's an election issue, now that it would play into your favor to show that there is this turmoil and this tension that's building so fervently, now we're going to call in the National Guard to deal with it. We're seeing constant videos of polling stations in Arizona and Georgia and Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, where there's people outside, and I saw one that they were outside praying. I mean, you could see that they were clearly praying, and they were calling it a riot. But yet, if you burn down buildings, assault police officers, assault each other, loot and destroy, that's considered a peaceful protest. What I believe personally is we are seeing a narrative play out right before our eyes. I think as far as from the perspective of wanting a civil war, of wanting a reason for a globalist community, a globalist objective to step in and say we can fix this. The scenario that's playing out right now, I think, it couldn't be happening more perfectly for that. Trying to figure out the best way to say this. We're watching an increased tension. I mean, the stuff that's happening, the tension, the fear. It's every minute, 24/7 over the last 3 or 4 days, since starting before the election and leading up to the moment that I've made this video, and I'm sure it'll continue even further. And there's other things going on that the media isn't even talking about. The last few days, each day we've had set a record increase in health crisis numbers, whatever. You have to be careful anymore on YouTube and what words you use talking about that. Eventually the media is going to cover that. And I suspect it's going to be, see, all you people that went and voted in person, you were all super spreaders, and now it's even worse. And now we have this massive epidemic of cases all across the nation, and we need to shut things down, and we need to, push a vaccine, and on and on. I see this almost this narrative playing out right before my eyes. And all it tells me, and it doesn't really, I look at it this way, for you preppers, and I've had some of you comment, say, hey, well, what about us, left-leaning preppers? You're not including us? I am including you, because it doesn't really matter whether you consider yourself a Republican, a Democrat, an independent, a conservative, a constitutional, a liberal, a socialist. I don't care, because what is happening and what will continue to happen will affect you. It will affect all of us, regardless of where you stand. And so as those that try to prepare for whatever outcome lies ahead, you need to be seeing this play out before you as something that has a great odds, I believe, of ending up in a very bad scenario for us all. You've got two candidates that are claiming a win. You've got two candidates that there's a chance that they could both end up not reaching the 270 electoral votes. You have a potential constitutional crisis on our hands, something that could end up in the House, which is controlled by Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats. You have a potential here because of the level of crisis that we're, that's being told. We're being told it's a crisis. We're being told that, we keep finding all these ballots and they're just 100% for Joe Biden and all this craziness. The bigger this crisis becomes, and the more it appears that there's no proven winner, the greater the chance of international aid coming to our assistance, the greater chance of there being justification for for tactics that we would never before see here in the United States, because it's never been this kind of a situation, especially when there's such tension. So all I can say is really we need to get ready. I believe that none of this is just a coincidence. None of this is just an accident. None of this is just like, oh, wow, we didn't know that would happen. How do we deal with this now? I think, like I've said all along, we are seeing a plan, an orchestrated plan playing out right before our eyes. Because if either candidate had won overwhelmingly, it would have been very difficult to get both sides so riled up and so heated and so against each other to create that ticking time bomb. But when it appears, to the Trump supporters, that he won, and when it appears to the Biden supporters that he won, then you have a large amount of our population that are on edge, and they are ready to explode with very little with very little of igniting to cause that explosion. I mean, there wouldn't take very much at this point. The Biden supporters, the hard left, they have been, they absolutely hate Trump for 4 years, and they want to win, and they want to be in control. And the Trump supporters, well, they absolutely love Trump. And the people that voted for him for the most part, and they see the left and what they're wanting to do, and they want to stop that. And so they both are highly motivated to get their guy into office. And even though many of you, see the presidency and the election system as just a charade, the fact is that the vast majority of the American population do not believe that. And there's enough of them in numbers and enough tension between those numbers to cause a much more widespread civil war. I've been saying for months now that we're really already in a civil war. We were in an ideological civil war for a long time. And then that civil war became an active physical civil war really this year. Only in pockets, though. It was not widespread. The vast majority of America did not see it, but it was happening. We were starting to see the initial skirmishes over the summer. And now that this is happening, there is a potential that these skirmishes could become much more widespread and over the coming days and weeks. Where does that leave you and I? Well, I can't tell you what to do, but I can definitely suggest that you start taking every precaution that you can to get yourself ready. I've been preaching it on here for months and months of getting ready, stocking up, being ready to protect yourself, to hunker down if that's what's needed, to get to a place that you're more secure and safe, where you can be more sustainable. All of these things you need to be doing, because I believe we have entered a sort of a new era here in the United States. And the outcome is probably undetermined. I'm sure that the folks at the top level that are orchestrating all this, they believe they know how the outcome will be, but they could be wrong still. There's still a lot of people out there that are fighting for both sides, and who will end up being the winner. And I'm not talking about as president, I'm talking about people, I'm talking about ideas. Who will end up being the victor is yet to be known. But I do see an increasing battle scenario. And I don't want to come across as being someone that's drumming up panic and that's trying to sensationalize this and sell that to you. But I do also want to issue some warnings. And for those of you that find yourself, because it's easy to, but find yourself getting caught up in all the this person's eking out a little lead over here, and oh, it dropped over here, and oh, we found some new ballots over here, and oh, we've got to, recheck this, and oh, we've got to go to court for this, and oh, there's going to be a recount for this. If you get caught up in all that, a lot of times you forget to step back and look at the greater picture and see all the things that's playing out right before our eyes, all across the nation. The tension, the buildup, the powder keg that is building, and looking back at wars this nation has been in, going all the way back to the Revolution. I cannot remember a time that I have learned about in history where there's been such great tension, and we're seeing some of the footage, some of the things that we're seeing play out. I mean, they really look like things that we have seen in other countries where there has been an open election that kind of failed, where it ended up where there was no clear winner, and both sides claimed to win, and both sides ended up fighting for that throne, for that title. And a lot of people would say, well, this is America. We would never get to that point. We'll never be a Venezuela. We'll never be these other countries that don't have the foundation of freedom that we do, and that have that system, that history of a successful system playing out. But a lot of things have changed over the last months and few years here in America. And so the potential for this scenario unraveling and looking so similar to the many nations we've seen over the past century, that the election itself was the catalyst for some level of civil war, I think is very good. And so, while you may choose to kind of stay in the game and stay on top of things and root for your guy, that's fine. I have no problem with that whatsoever. But you folks, you need to also be aware that as this plays out and as this builds, we are inching closer and closer every day to a very explosive situation. Something I noticed real quick that was, to me, I see it as an indicator, not everyone would. The stock markets, most people would consider what's going on to affect the stock market so negatively, except it's not. They're just shooting up. Just about everything is up right now. Why would that be? Ask yourself. Maybe it's that way because those people playing the stock market are trying to get everything they can out of it before they see big bursting of the bubble. Maybe I'm wrong. I could be, but that's how I see it. That they're trying to squeak out every little drop of money that they can out of it. So, folks, get yourself ready in every possible way. Yesterday, my wife and I ran some errands and stopped at a place and picked up about 100 pounds of pasta. It was an amazing good price, and so that's the things that we are doing around here. I mean, we have pretty good, preparedness on everything that we can think of, but it doesn't mean that we're stopping. It doesn't mean that we're just sitting back and relaxing. There's still a little bit of time, not much, but a little bit. So take advantage of that and do yourself and your family a favor by getting yourself ready as much as possible, because I believe that some pretty hard times are coming. Joe Biden said it himself. There's a dark winter coming, and I think that's probably the most true statement that he's probably said the entire campaign. All right, guys and gals, thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for giving the thumbs up. All those things help the channel and help get the word spread for the work that we're doing here. You guys have a good time and be safe and stay prepped, and I'll catch you in the next video.